Hello, friends. Welcome back to At Home with Holly. My name's Holly, and I'm so glad that you are here with me. So we are going to be doing more food preservation because I have a quarter of a cow and a butcher box order coming, and I needed to clean out my deep freezer that holds all of the meat and large items because it has been taken over by tomatoes and all of the things that are not going to be able to stay there long term to make room for the other things. So before we get to that, though, I did want to do just a few minutes of garden cleanup. I still need to top off the beds and put silage tarps on and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of each of my beds, I have these little flower pots, and they're like barrel style, and they all have either echinacea or salvia and perennials in them. And at the end of every season, I do cut off all the dead stalks, and then I actually deadhead the things like the coneflowers or echinacea that will reseed themselves. That way, more will naturally just keep coming up. And then I also did plant some from seed, some different varieties of echinacea, and so I will actually be transplanting those into some of the blank spaces that I have in some of these pots as well. Echinacea doesn't usually flower the first year. Sometimes they do, but most of the time they don't. So I usually just grow them in pots and then go ahead and just kind of fill them in the blank spaces to make these look really, really full. So I did end up taking out our little bee watering station. So I'm going to add that back in. And then my daughter's little fairy gnome garden as well. So, okay. So I had so much fun having the chicken curry jars on my shelf that I decided I'm going to do some beef pot roast ones. And we need to harvest some carrots and celery. So these carrots, it's not the best carrot harvest I've ever had, but it's not the worst one either. This variety of carrots isn't supposed to get super long. This is actually like a shorter, wider variety of carrot. So I'm not super disappointed with these results. I've had them get a lot larger when I've thinned them out. And honestly, this season I did not thin them out at all. I just sprinkled them. Once they germinated, I let them be. And I did pick a few to snack on here and there. And so where I did that towards the middle of this row is where it's getting to, they did tend to get a little bit larger, but generally speaking, if you thin out your carrots, they will get decent size. And if you don't, you'll get a whole bunch of carrots, but they might be a little smaller. So either way, it's okay. They all taste the same and they all eat just fine. And for the purpose of what we're doing today in the kitchen, it's going to work out perfectly. Fresh, homegrown carrots taste so different and so delicious and so sweet compared to what you buy in the store that I didn't even know that I really liked carrots. I just thought they were kind of like something that was on the plate or in the soup. And now I love the taste of these homegrown carrots. So I'm excited to be able to add these to our jar. I'm excited to have these meal in a jars. It's something I haven't really ever canned before this year, so I'm super excited. So I decided, well, if we did the curry and I liked that so much, let's go ahead and do this pot roast in a jar. So I'm excited to take you guys along with me today to do that. Okay, there should be enough celery. I'm also going to go ahead and wash and dice up 3 cups of some Kennebec potatoes that we harvested this year. These are the ones that the mice didn't get to. These are all washed, ready to be chopped, and now I need to go grab some onions from the garage. You know what? Let's grab shallots, because I think that sounds delicious in some stew. So let me try to find all the small ones because we'll be replanting the big ones. So I'll grab a couple bunches of these small ones. So similarly to garlic, shallots we're going to plant in the fall, and they're going to grow over winter and pop up, and we're going to harvest them in summer. And the larger the shallots that you plant, the larger the shallots that you get on the other end. So I tend to eat and cook with all of the smaller ones, and then the larger ones I plant so that year after year they keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I do really love shallots. I mean, I think every once in a while you guys will hear me talk about that in these videos, but I really love shallots. They store for like a year. They taste just like onions, except better somehow. So I'm really excited to be working on this over the next few years of growing larger ones. Shallots peeled, ready to be chopped. So these meals in a jar, you can do these in quarts if you had a larger family, or I like doing them in pints, but honestly, they're not that hard to put together and they don't take that long to process. You do need a pressure canner because of the meat. You can't process meat in a water bath canner or a steam canner, but honestly, it's just kind of busy work to chop up all these things. And so I just either listen to a podcast or an audiobook and just kind of zone out and start chopping and just prepping all these things. It's kind of fun. It makes me feel like those people on Food Network that have all their little veggies in different bowls and stuff. So I kind of get a kick out of doing it. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those things that's not really hard, but the reward on the other end is having all of these ready to eat meals that are healthy and delicious. And so I'm pretty excited that I actually tried these meals in a jars this year. And I'm excited to have them on the shelf. Let me know in the comments if you guys do any meal in a jars. I've done soups and stuff in years past, but this is the first time I've had these. So comment and let me know which ones you guys have tried. So as I'm editing this video and I'm watching myself chop this garlic, I'm actually getting really excited because it is almost garlic planting time. I actually ordered all of my garlic from MI Gardener this year, and I got a whole bunch of different varieties. And then of course I have my garlic that my friend Ben has given me that her family has been growing and cultivating. So, here I am chopping up the beef as well. This is the beef that I got from my local farmer. I'm just using some chuck roasts to chop up for this pot roast, but I'm excited that it's almost garlic planting time. I love planting garlic. You plant it, you forget about it, and then months and months and months later, you get to reap the harvest. I love it. Okay, you guys, we're getting ready to fill these jars. So we got 12 jars. We're going to put a half a pound of beef in each jar. We're going to put quarter cup of potatoes, quarter cup of shallots, eighth of a cup of celery, quarter of a cup of carrots, half a teaspoon of salt. We're going to put in some black pepper, bay leaf, garlic, thyme, marjoram, wine. So I've got everything cut up, ready to go. I've got my eighth of a cup and a quarter of a cup measuring and half teaspoon and quarter teaspoon. So we're going to assembly line this right in the jars. So garlic is one of those things that when you plant it, you plant one clove and you will get a whole head of garlic in return. And that is such a good return on investment in my book. So I love anything that you can plant. It doesn't take up a lot of space. It grows on its own. There's hardly anything you have to do to it, and it multiplies that much. That's a moneymaker, and I'm excited about that. So it is almost garlic planting time. I love planting garlic. It's one of the ingredients that I use a lot in my cooking. So to be able to grow that at home and save the money is amazing. And you don't have to buy seed garlic every year, but I wanted to try some different varieties, and I didn't have an awesome garlic harvest this year. So I wanted to really start out with some strong, large cloves to get large bulbs when it's time to harvest. So I'm adding all the ingredients to these jars, and we're going to get ready to process them here in a minute. So the last ingredient in the recipe, it actually calls for beef broth. I'm choosing today to use vegetable juice. Do what you feel comfortable with. Follow the recipe exactly if you're a brand new canner for sure. I feel comfortable using vegetable juice today, so I'm going to do that. Okay, we're going to wipe down each of the rims with white vinegar just to make sure there's no meat or spices or anything liquid on the rims to make sure we get a nice seal on our jars. So after you get all new lids and bands on, you are going to process these in the pressure canner for 75 minutes for pints, 90 minutes for quarts, and then you're going to have this awesome meal in a jar ready to go on your shelf. You guys, meal in a jar? Yeah, this single mom, sometimes I want real food and I'm tired at the end of a long day. So this homegrown, locally grown beef, homegrown everything else besides the wine and the juice. So yeah, I love having these on my shelf. This is amazing. Today, we are continuing with this week's big kitchen preservation week. Here's the deal. When the garden comes on, it comes on. And if you want to be able to take advantage of your harvest, not only your harvest, but the local farmer's harvest at the farmer's market and all that stuff, there's a season for everything. And there's, in the winter, you're longing for the garden and you're planting seeds and you're going over seed catalogs and you're just babysitting little sprouts and hoping it all grows, right? In the spring, you're like getting in there, planting cold crops, then warm crops. And then there's a little bit of a wait. And then it all comes in. Well, right now, it's in, and I don't want it to go bad. So today we are prepping some freezer meals because I want to take advantage of the stuff that's coming in. And also I needed to clean out some room in my freezer because the tomatoes have been taking up room. All the fresh produce coming in from the garden that I've been freezing has been taking up room. And I want to turn those things into meals so that over the winter, while I'm working and Olivia has sports and all those things, I'm able to pull out something that's homegrown, freshly made by me. Well, not freshly, but made by me with homegrown fresh ingredients at the time. And so that way we're not tempted to, on a busy school night, to be like, oh, let's just grab pizza or let's just grab takeout. This way it's easier. And I will show you guys my casserole dishes. I don't use 9x13s. They're more like 6x10s. And so they're perfect for Olivia and I. You could totally put these recipes in a 9x13, but if you have a smaller family or you're just cooking for 1 or 2 people, these are much better than having a 9x13. I love eating leftovers, but I only want to eat them for like dinner and maybe like 2 lunches. I don't want to eat them for a week because I made a huge batch, right? So anyway, we're getting in here today. We're doing stuffed peppers and I browned up a whole bunch of meat. Actually, let me just take you back to how we got here right now. So we're gonna grab out 2 cups of rice. I do buy rice, flour, and sugar in bulk from Azure Standard. I can link the information below if you are interested in learning more about that. But for this, we're gonna get 2 cups of rice and we're gonna add it to the rice cooker with some homemade broth, and we're gonna get that cooking for us right away. Now I did pull out all of this ground beef. Most of it is from the local farmer. Some of it's from a butcher box order. And we're going to start getting this nice and browned. I also have our red peppers and cheese ready to go. So I'm going to add some garlic flavored avocado oil to the pan and start getting this meat browned up. I'm actually going to use 2 pans so that it's not overcrowded and starts to steam. I wanted to get a nice brown color on all of this beef. So a long time ago, I actually had a back surgery, a minor back surgery. And when I was recovering, I watched all the food cooking shows. And the thing I learned the most was like, season your food, taste your food, and brown food equals flavor. So not to be afraid when something says to brown the meat, to like brown the meat, because that is where that umami flavor comes from. And the umami flavor is the thing that makes us think things taste good, right? So that brown color is essential. So don't be afraid to just get that meat in there and let it do its thing. So while that meat is getting lovely toasty brown, I'm going to take a minute to chop these peppers in half. Some of them had been in my fridge a little too long. And so I just was like, okay, well, I will take the best ones and make stuffed peppers, and the other ones that are not perfect anymore, I'm going to go ahead and chop up and put in freezer bags so that I have them for future recipes when I need diced bell peppers. So no problem. Nothing's going to go to waste. But these, I'm going to get them halved and then take out the seeds and get them ready to be stuffed. I'm taking a second to get out my pans to make sure that I have enough peppers to make it fit. I do end up actually going to the garden in a little bit and grabbing some more peppers because I end up making way too much of the mixture, but that's okay. There's never really too much. So at this point, I'm just putting in what I've got in the pans, and then I'll end up adding more later. Y'all know the drill. I went to my garage, I pulled out some onions, and here we go. We're going to start chopping them up so that we can get them in the pan to get them nice and soft and ready for all of the goodies that we're going to be making today. I did actually pull the ground beef out of one of the pans because I want to cook the onions in those drippings. Some onions. So all the little brown bits at the bottom have flavor. So I'm just kind of, as the onions start sweating, they're releasing juices, and it's allowing me to scrape all those brown bits, which again are flavor, off the bottom, and it's going to be so good. I'm going to add just a little bit of salt so that they'll start sweating and releasing even more. We got really good color on our beef. We got happy about that. So we're just gonna let these keep cooking down and keep kind of working the bottom of the pan. No flavor left behind, man. Okay, I'm liking how they look. I'm loving how they smell. And I think we're ready to call it with these onions. We're not looking to caramelize, we're just looking to make them sweet and soft. So, onions, done. So yeah, you guessed it, I decided to make more pans of the stuffed peppers. So I ran out to the garden and I grabbed what was ready. They're not as big as the red, but they are delicious, so they will work. We're gonna add in some of our homemade spaghetti sauce that we made together. When I first started canning, it's almost like you hate to use what you canned, which is crazy, right? Because like you canned it, but it looks so pretty on the shelf, almost like you want to save it, but that's not what we're doing it for, man. We're doing it to eat. So we're gonna mix all this together. I might need another jar, but we'll start with this. Am I the only one that's too stubborn to get a bigger bowl when I'm halfway through a project? Just me? It smells good. All right, I'm gonna add a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. And this isn't really off of any recipe, kind of just winging it. A little bit off of how I normally make them, a little bit with what I think will go and what I had on hand. So I do like to add cheese on mine. I like to add some cheese in it and some cheese on it. Today I'm gonna do feta, and then I'm gonna do like pine nuts on top. So it's kind of more like a little bit of a Greek, I guess. I'm not sure. All right, that looks like a good place to start filling. Oh, you know what I forgot is rice. Let me grab some rice. Probably could have gotten a bigger bowl, but we'll make this work. So sometimes I do stuffed peppers like all different flavors, you know? Sometimes I'll do it like chicken, sometimes I'll do it beef, sometimes I'll do quinoa, sometimes I'll do rice. Today I really wanted feta. I'd had them before. I watched somebody make them on TV one time, like 20 years ago, with feta and pine nuts, and I was like, what? And then I ate it, and I was like, yup. So anyway, it's one of my favorite ways to eat it. So, all right, we've got our filling set. Let me taste. Needs a little more salt and pepper, and then we should be good. Yep. Okay, let's get these filled. So these big canning or freezer meal days, they do take a little bit of time. I don't tend to do them all on one day. Like some people, I tend to break them up over a week so that I can fit them into my schedule a little easier. But the beauty is that it takes not that much more time to make 4 of these plates as it does to make 1. So the benefit is you're only in the kitchen dirtying stuff up one time and you get it later on. Okay, I was just about to top these and then I realized I forgot to put sauce at the bottom of the pan. So let me get another jar of sauce, put it between these 4 at the bottom, and then we'll sprinkle over the top some feta cheese and some toasted pine nuts. Okay, they're starting to get a little roasty toasty, so that's as far as I want to take these. So we'll get these on top of our stuffed peppers. Okay, these are done. So we're just gonna get lids on them and then get them in the freezer. So the reason I like these containers is they have these lids. So for the freezer, these make it really nice. You can just snap them down and then they're nice and tight and can stack in the freezer. Okay, so after we made those 4 stuffed pepper freezer meals, we have several pounds of ground beef, browned beautifully, left over. We have a little bit of rice left in the rice cooker, and then some cooked onions. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to can this brown beef so that we have easy ways to add beef to spaghetti or make tacos really quickly or anything that I want to, just to be able to have brown beef on the pantry shelf is awesome. So I'm gonna I'm gonna put those in jars and can those, pressure can those. And then I'm also gonna take the leftover rice and I'm gonna pull out some jars of canned chicken and I have some old stuffing that needs, stuffing like box mix stuffing that needs used up. So I think I'm gonna make chicken, rice, stuffing, cheesy casserole. Basically, I'm gonna put two of those freezer meals together with the stuff we have left on hand. So let's go ahead and do that. So just about 1 pound fits in a half pint mason jar. So we'll get this in here and then we'll just keep going down that. I think it's got wide mouth and regular mouth in these. I'm gonna try to use the wide mouths. And I'm packing it, but I'm not like overpacking it. So there's still gonna be some room for the liquid in the jars. Especially when you take the time to really get that good brown color, which is where all the flavor comes from. I know a lot of people don't love canned meat. I love it. I love canned chicken because it tastes like rotisserie chicken and it's awesome. And I actually really like the canned ground beef if you take the time to like brown it, because yeah, that's just a convenience food. It's like fast food on a busy night or anytime, you know. Especially since it's just Olivia and I, you know, if she's sick or I'm sick, basically if I'm sick, she still needs taken care of, right? So I need to be able to have nutritious meals that are easy or already made. So, you know, this is just nice to have. Okay, so we got 5 of those. And we'll get those topped off with some water and put them in the canner, the pressure canner, and those will be pressure canning for us while we get the made up chicken casserole going. I get these in the pressure canner, and these are going to be pressure canning for us while we make the next freezer meal. All right, I'm going to combine these so that I can have this pan to make our box stuffing real quick. Okay, so we are going to do 1 stick of butter and 3 cups of water to the pot. It's okay that this had beef and then onions in it. It's all gonna taste good. All right, 3 cups of water. We'll let that butter melt, then we'll add our little mix. Okay, that came to a boil. We are going to add in some stuffing mix, stir it around, let it sit. And come back and add it to the, okay, I'm gonna make cream of chicken soup by putting butter, flour, chicken broth, a little bit of milk in this pan and making it work. So I'm going to go ahead and talk over this part because my daughter and her friend came in to get some water, so the ice maker's loud and all that stuff. So you're going to add 1 stick of butter, you're going to add some flour, and then you're going to cook that until there's no more flour taste. Basically, you're cooking out the flour taste, and then you're going to add your liquid, and that's cream of chicken. So one of the added benefits, besides the fact that you get yummy, soft, tastes like rotisserie chicken, of canning your own chicken, is you actually put raw chicken. Well, you can do it cooked or raw, but you can put raw or cooked chicken in the can, and when you jar it, it ends up making yummy broth. So no need to waste that broth. Whenever you're doing a recipe that calls for chicken broth and cooked chicken, you can just drain off the jars of home canned chicken, and the yummy broth can be used as broth. And just like that, we have cream of chicken soup. Okay. Now, if you wanted to make this cheesy, you would add it here and melt it in. I don't think I'm gonna do cheesy today. If I was adding broccoli, I would. For some reason, that makes sense in my head. But anyway, today, no cheese. Okay. So this is a mix of light and dark meat. I just mixed it all up when I put it in the jars. So that'll be awesome. Some really larger chunks in there. I'm gonna go ahead and take a second to break that up, but I'm not really looking for a shredded chicken consistency, although this will shred pretty easily. This is like the texture of like I said, like rotisserie chicken essentially. So, all right, we've got chicken, rice, and onions in that bowl. I did not season this chicken, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt and pepper to this bowl. Okay, add our cream of chicken. I almost want to add broccoli to it. Okay, again, I don't know if it's all gonna fit in this bowl, but we're gonna try. You could totally add broccoli or peas or carrots or something like that to this. My child is still in the phase where not a lot of things can be mixed together that she likes, but she will eat roasted vegetables if you just throw them on a sheet pan with some oil, salt, and pepper, and just roast them till they get kind of sweet and nutty. So generally speaking, I have a lot of veg individually vacuum packed, freezer bagged into portions in the freezer so that I can just make that as a side dish. So, that's so good. Okay, I'm gonna get these into pan. I don't know if it's gonna fit in 2, it might need 3, but we'll get these into some pans and then get it cooled completely before we put it in the freezer. Okay, I just tasted it. You should always taste your food. And I feel like it needs something. So I don't know why, but because the flavor of stuffing is making me Thanksgiving-y, I have some leftover French fried onions. I'm gonna mix those in. All right, I'm gonna mix in some garlic chives before I top these off. All right, got all of the garlic chives mixed in. I'm gonna top them. And you don't have to do this. You could do Ritz crackers, you could do nothing, but I'm a fan. So let these cool completely, get our lids on them, and then we'll get all of these meals in the freezer. Yum. Yum, yum, yum. Okay. You guys, look at what we did. We got 4 stuffed peppers and 2 of our chicken, rice, stuffing, onion mixture, which is very delicious, by the way. So we got all of that done in just a few hours. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus all of the meat that's canned too. So what an amazing day. Thank you so much for spending today in the kitchen with me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for all the sharing and the liking and the comments that you guys have been making. I really appreciate you guys so much. I can't wait to see you next time. Bye.